however you are and whenever you are. Welcome, good souls, from this planet and beyond to Paranormal Now. I'm Alan B. Smith. Join us as we traverse the cosmic highway of paranormal portals and tantalizing turnoffs. Joining us tonight to discuss their documentary Countdown to Disclosure are Brent and Blake Cousins of Third Phase Moon, and in the second hour, we welcome Micheal Roser from Darkhour Paranormal and Rich Giordano from GUFON. Tonight, in the last 30 minutes, we do have those open lines. If you want to call in to the KGRA hotline, that is 1-855-472-5483 or 85 KGRA Live. Stand by. Our producer, Bill Skywatcher, will pull you on and give you the cue, and we'll get you on air, and you can ask your questions to all of our guests tonight. I will do my best to see your questions in chat, but as always, I can't promise I'm going to keep track of everything, but I will do my best. All right, now, as many of you know, I am a fan of the UFO Monument Park in Sheffield, Massachusetts. So if you do get a chance to come up here to the Northeast, please do check it out. It really is a fascinating site. I wish we had more sites like this where we officiated the historical importance of UFO events. If only we can get more government, local localities or not, to get involved and officiate some of these sites. It would help build the credibility factor. And we'll be talking about the credibility factor quite a bit tonight with our guests, Blake and Brent. As a friendly reminder, you can follow me on Twitter at paranormal_now or on Instagram at paranormalnow. And if you're in the mood, I'm experimenting with TikTok. So you can go to at Alan Paranormal Now. It's much more of a playful space for me, so it gives me a chance to kind of goof around a little bit, but also take on some of the skepticism out there that there is towards the UAP phenomena, UFOs, and even the more fringe phenomena as well, like alien abduction, because as you know on this show, we take it all very seriously. All right, so I'm going to bring on our guest, Blake and Brent Cousins. How are you, brother? Welcome to Paranormal Now.
Good to see you, Alan. Good to be on the show. I got my brother here standing by and looking forward to this discussion.
All right, so everybody doesn't get confused. Who's Blake and who's Brent, and how do you tell the difference?
Well, we're identical twins, so a lot of people have a hard time making sure which one's Brent, which one's Blake. They're always stumbling over themselves. But, you know, after a while, you give it a couple months hanging out with us, you get it just like that. Who's Blake and who's Brent? You know, Brent's got the hair. I got kind of the slick back ponytail, so that kind of makes it easy to tell who's Blake and who's Brent. Brent will be popping in. Sometimes the audience might not know because, we're identical twins, 3 minutes apart. And maybe by the end of the show, people could guess which one's older.
Maybe we should hold a contest at the end of the show and do a giveaway. So Brent, Third Phase of Moon, can you tell us how it started? And I actually want to let everyone know that you and Blake will be flip-flopping, right?
I'm Blake.
I'm sorry, Blake. See, I knew I was going to do that. So Blake and Brent are going to switch the co-host to the guest chair tonight. So we'll give you the cue and let you know, because your title says Blake.
Yep.
Right, so now.
When it does come up and Brent's here, it's going to be still Blake, so people will get it. We can't switch up the name that quick, but
we'll just go with it. And let's
go with it.
What's really important is what you think the UAP phenomena is. Now, Third Phase of Moon, tell us a little bit about how you started or why you started that YouTube channel.
Well, I think we've been around for about a decade now. YouTube was a new platform. It was something kind of exciting. There was a whole buildup of this community that didn't have a place to go. And for some reason, Third Phase Moon filled that vacuum, that void that was there for the community looking into the UFO phenomenon. There's random channels out there, but we decided we wanted to get to the public, start interviewing them. Let's put a face behind the camera. So my brother and I, we set up some on-location interviews with eyewitnesses who captured some strange things here in Hawaii. We put it up on the channel, not expecting much. Next thing you know, it went viral. We're like, wow, there's a lot of people really interested in eyewitness testimony and their reaction to what they're getting. And there was really nobody else doing that. So we started to say at the end of every video, if you've captured anything amazing out there, contact us via Skype or Facebook. Next thing you know, we're getting tons of emails every day. And then it just kind of roller coasted and snowballed from there. And it was exciting. And over the years, we've transitioned in the way we do things. And I think the way Third Phase Moon has transitioned into the era of what ufology is right now, we're perfectly positioned to be in the front line of the whole phenomenon and the insight to the real story, in our opinion, of what's the agenda and what's going on with the world, the government, the major media, what they're trying to put out. And I think Third Phase Moon is definitely the alternative platform for the phenomenon. And we deal with the public. And I think that's where Third Phase Moon got started, just dealing with the public, talking to people every day and from around the world, and developing relationships with people that are basically strangers. But once you correspond with them, you'll never forget who they are, and they'll never forget who we are, just because of the correspondence. And then people seeing their videos actually published on Third Phase of Moon, permission granted. I think it's a badge of honor for a lot of people seeing their videos up on our channel, just due to the fact that we're kind of selective of what we put up. We get hundreds of videos every day, and we'll knock out 90% of them because they're just not up to the par of the phenomenon that we think people need to see. Get people. So
you filter out what some of the videos that people send you?
Yeah, we have to. Otherwise we'd be getting more floods of UFO videos that we don't really need. Like, there's a lot of people that film Venus or a star, and then they zoom up on it, and once we put a white dot video on Third Phase of Moon, we're going to get hundreds of white dots of videos, which we don't want. So we don't want to flood our database with a white dot, or we don't want to have our database being flooded with an insect going by, and then you got to freeze frame it, or we don't want any. We want like visually. We don't want lens flares. See, we put this kind of stuff up. If we do, then our emails would get flooded with things that we really don't want. But they send it anyway. People are confused. They don't know what they're looking at. So behind the scenes, we'll go, hey, that's a lens flare. Hey, that that's a star. It could be a drone. Thanks for sharing. But yeah, I'd say about 5% of what comes in, maybe 4% is what we put out. And it's a crazy amount of information, because we're putting up 20 to 30-minute episodes pretty much nightly on Third Phase Moon with multiple videos. So even with all the evidence that comes in that doesn't make it to the platform, there's still so much evidence that if we don't keep putting it up on a daily basis, we're going to fall behind.
Sometimes there is a little bit of envy out there. So when ATIP report came out in 2016 in conjunction with TTSA was getting these videos and putting it out, right? They watermarked it. And then that kind of transitioned into really Jeremy Corbell is the one now, right? Kind of like picking up that baton. Do you ever feel like, well, shouldn't we be doing that? Because we've been putting out videos for years.
Hey, fair enough question. And I agree. Why doesn't Third Phase Moon have a platform? Why isn't the major media not talking to us when we have one of the largest archive of UFO evidence from the public, with contacts to the people that shot it, verified that these videos are authentic, and they don't want to talk to Third Phase Moon? I don't know if Jeremy picked up the baton or is just handed off to him via being ordained into this media blitz that they're doing. In my opinion, there's only a few players that are able to speak on the major media. We've reached out to them all, CNN, Fox. They're not responding back. And what's crazy is that we're putting up breaking news events on Third Phase Moon, and it takes 2 or 3 days, maybe 4 days, till the major media picks up on the information that we brought forward. And they're still not talking to us. In my opinion, that means that they don't want to talk to us because we're not in their script. They might not like what we say, some of the questions that we have, some of the evidence we want to bring forward. So in my opinion, There's no envy going on here. People know where to send their footage to. They know how that we're there to get it out as fast as possible. We're not going to be giving you little breadcrumbs like some of these others. Like I've seen, who you mentioned, Corbell. He dropped a still photograph of the splashdown video that he released 2 weeks later, even though he sits on these videos without putting them out as he gets it. Why is anybody sitting on the evidence? Nobody should be sitting on evidence. If you get it out as fast as possible. That's what we did.
If these are people from the intel community that are kind of pushing this, releasing these videos kind of behind the scenes, let's say, doesn't it mean they know what they're doing? And by that, I mean the whole like trickling, the teasing, the timing of interviews, 60 minutes, right? It's like this does seem like very calculated in a lot of ways, which is to say, and I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing. You can speak to that if you want, but it's effective. Like there's no doubt it's effective and it's working, and the public is starting to eat it up.
You know, you're exactly right there, Alan. It's very effective, and you see the major media going along with it. And I want to ask you, Alan, when have you ever seen? My brother says this. It's kind of his theories. Have you ever seen one side of the media and the other side of the media competing channels go along with the same statements and the same script? There is no argument between all the channels and all the major media. It's the same narrative, straight in a straight line, which tends me to believe that I've never seen anything like this, where all the major media is going along with this story. And it is very effective, and it is a way of getting out the information. The way they do it, it's strategic, and we know how to get out a story as well. And there's these things that you got to go through. But again, the way they're trickling it down little by little, whether it's right or wrong, in my opinion, and I think most people agree, is if you got the evidence, put it out. Forget teasing us. Let's just get to the bottom of this thing as fast as possible. And this rollout, the way they're doing it, it seems that we're going to get it as slow as they want. We're not going to get this for a long time. That's why they want it. They say this is the only way they can do it. Is from what I'm hearing from the insiders on the other side, they have to do it this way. And it's
but hasn't it already been a long time of drip, drip, drip anyway before 2017, right? I mean, for decades, we've been spoon-fed little by little more and more information. How much longer could it possibly go on for?
It's a good question, Alan. You know, I'm hoping sooner than later, and that's why maybe they're doing this now, because people are itching for this technology. I think the word's getting out from the work that we've done that there's something going on, and how are they going to trickle this thing down? The infrastructure is quite not ready to handle these kind of vehicles, such as the Tic Tac. You have to build the infrastructure. These things are extraordinary to build, in my opinion. You know, if a Tic Tac, as we believe, is something that is being manufactured within a private corporation, to build this thing and reverse engineer it from advanced civilization that I think we've uncovered somehow or another, whether it's extraterrestrial or advanced civilization from the past, we found something in 47. Yeah. 70 years later, voila, the Tic Tac. It costs $1 trillion to build one of these things. The American budget, the entire economy is only worth $263 trillion. So we could only buy 263 Tic Tacs. There's not enough to go around. So this is the reason why I think the slow drip, drip, no infrastructure, not enough demand.
Special access programs that are creating these craft that we're seeing now?
You know, somebody reverse engineered something from 47. If you want to throw out the Roswell crash in 47, well, then we could throw that out. But in my opinion, there's technology within our government's assets that are purchased from a private corporation that are top secret, above top secret, of course, for national security. The question is, how far advanced technology are they now? When they came out with the B-1 bomber, I think it's 40 years before they release it to the public. 40 years of advanced technology until they release it. But now, in the advent of how technology has expanded and skyrocketed, now people are talking 300 to 1,000 years and advanced technology that they're hiding from us. And if they're hiding it from us, and the government's actually hiding this stuff that could be useful to us as citizens, that's almost illegal. It'd almost be, if somebody is building the Tic Tac, let's just say, we could go grab that Tic Tac, fly it out of there, and we'd be heroes, and there shouldn't be anything wrong with us hijacking something that they're keeping a secret from. We should be able to grab the Tic Tac and show it to the world, and they shouldn't be able to touch us because they're claiming that they don't have it. And if they don't have it, that means if they do have it and they're claiming that they don't have it, there's something wrong there. It's not lawful.
Were you guys believers? And I don't know if you want to switch seats, Blake, with Brent, but have you been believers your whole life? Where did that come from?
Well, yeah, we want to...
Go ahead, answer that a little bit.
Well, I can tell you this, and then, Brent, we've had our experiences when we started out at a young age. We're living in Palolo Valley. We're about 4 years old. We had our bedroom, 2 beds, and it's kind of a scary place. There's actually is a 3-bedroom house, but the place is kind of scary. So me and Brent like to be in the same room. We're afraid of ghosts when we're young.
Yeah. Who isn't, right?
Who isn't?
Yeah.
So, but I swear, me and Brent had this experience where we saw these 3 alien grays with jumpsuits petter around into the bedroom, and they're just like looking around.
Wow.
We didn't feel threatened by any means. They felt like we felt that they're just kind of cool, pleasant, and curious. Like they just were curious about us. We don't know what happened afterwards, but we told our parents the next morning, hey, these 3 things, about 3.5 feet tall with big heads and big black eyes with these black clothing on. We didn't know the suits. We're only 4 years old at the time, but they didn't know. They were just kind of going, wow, it's kind of interesting. But me and Brent both experienced it, which is kind of,
So I had a friend when I was younger, and we had an imaginary friend that we shared. It was literally a shared imaginary friend, and this world that we created for it was very real to a degree for us. And I remember going through that transitional period of growing up and being like, I have to come to accept the fact that, this is an imaginary friend, and I'm self-aware now in a way that I wasn't a year ago. Is it imaginary for you guys, or was
No.
how do you know it's real?
It wasn't planned. It just is like in the middle of the night, we woke up, saw the door open. I guess it's kind of moonlit, so we could see it's like a full moon. Everything was bright in the room. Mm-hmm. And we could see these 3 things. It wasn't like we weren't trying to play around or make believe or anything. It was in the middle of the night. So we just kind of woke up, saw this, experienced it for a couple minutes, it seemed. I'm not sure for how long it lasted, but it wasn't like we're trying to play around or make believe or anything. We didn't even know what an alien being was at the time. An alien with gray and large head. I don't even know where we would have picked that up from. So, and to both have the same experience at the same time, I think is interesting. But then again, we're identical twins. We finish each other's thoughts in a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. So, who knows? We could have been both having a lucid dream at the same time. But me and Brent really don't have the exact same dreams every day of the week. It never even happened. I don't know. So,
although I would argue though that we probably, I definitely was exposed to some degree. I'm sure, maybe the Betty and Barney Hill movie was playing in the background somewhere, or Star Trek. There were various alien beings. Even Star Wars, which came out in 77. I think
this was before Star Wars.
Oh, okay. All right.
This is 74,
Okay.
1974. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's possible
Maybe
that
Star Trek.
Yeah, there was one episode of Twilight Zone where there was an alien that was similar to the Betty and Barney Hill alien, but I guess statistically speaking, the odds are you may not have seen that. And even if you did see that, I've never taken that as a debunker point. Sure. Just because it's like I've seen a buffalo, right, in a picture. When I actually saw a real buffalo, it doesn't mean the real one wasn't real. So, and that's the thing is, it's the tangible aspect. So for you guys, it felt tangible.
Well, hey, you asked us when we started experiencing it and starting. Well, that was basically our first experience. We've had many encounters, close encounters, not with extraterrestrials in person, like them walking into our room by any means, but extraordinary craft doing extraordinary things in close proximity. And I guess Brent could tell you quickly about the Tr3b encounter that we had in 2010.
Yeah, I'd really like to hear that encounter, because it's those close up in person eyewitness encounters that are the most compelling. So Brent, everyone watching, ignore the name on the screen. This is Brent. Welcome. And tell us about the story.
Yeah, it happened December 30th, 2010. And actually, we told Micheal Roser about this experience just last week. And he actually listened to some of the audio of what happened that day. And it was kind of curious. There was this a couple that lived down in the middle of a place called Kukuha'i, which actually means dancing lights in Hawaiian. And they reached out to us because they knew of our channel, Third Phase of Moon. And they said, hey, we're having these strange events over our land at night, and it's been a continuous basis. And we're like, okay, what do you want us to do? They said, well, come on down and bring your cameras. We want you guys to be there. They're actually kind of intimidated with all this activity that's been happening. So we're more than happy to do this. It was on our birthday, and I think we showed up around 8:30 in the evening, and there was the couple and another friend of ours back in the day in high school named Jesse. He was there with a gun strapped to his side with the holster. And we're like, why'd you bring a gun? And he says, well, I've been seeing your stuff on Third Phase of Moon. I need to be prepared. We're like, well, you don't be going shooting aliens or even trying to approach it that way, but whatever, Jesse. We'll just play it as it goes. And during the night, we're having a conversation with the couple, and they're telling us their experiences and what's happening. They said these things were coming over, and they're quite large. And then around 10:30 that evening, what's his name? Josh, he says, hey, look, there's something up in the sky. And then we start looking at it. And then we started to just get into an awe. We're just like, what in the world? It looked like a Tr3b, but this thing was the size of a football field. And it started to descend through the clouds. And then you could just hear us, all of us just starting to just really get giddy. It's like we're convinced what we're seeing. We could all just be kind of in a focus on what we're seeing. And we're getting excited hearing us just like kind of get giddy like little children on a field day trip. And we're screaming like, it's real, look at that. And then we start seeing these swirling lights just kind of flanking the Tr3b. We see it come east of us. And then it starts to go towards Waipio Valley. And this was like about a 4 or 5 minute encounter. And it just slowly went over us. And then we all turned at the same time following this craft in the sky. And it was just, that was one of our experiences, December 30th.
Did you feel any movement of air, like a breathe or any kind of exhaust?
The thing was so silent. There was really nothing that gave it like any kind of mass, or you didn't hear no engines of the sort. It's a total silent craft, but you could just make out the black, perfect triangle.
Yeah. And
it was what was rather interesting. We saw the escorts of lights, and over the past couple of years, since that experience, we've been hearing people's encounters with the Tr3b, and they mentioned the swirling lights that accompany this vehicle, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
We actually came up with a term besides UAP and UFOs. We call them meta propulsion craft. MPC.
No, go ahead.
Craft. Because what's the meta behind it? It's more that than anything else. And propulsion, people say anti-gravity. Well, that's pretty much hard to create anything anti-gravity. That's pretty much a false term. You just maybe create a craft that mimic something that looks like anti-gravity craft. And we need to know what the meta is.
In your documentary, supercavitation is a term that is referenced. Is that the same thing or something different? Because supercavitation, my understanding is that can be achieved in various matters, right? Not necessarily some ultra high tech knowledge.
The process of supercavitation is they kind of shoot a laser at the front of the vehicle, and it creates this plasma shield around the craft itself, so it doesn't touch whatever it's going through, such as water or air at the same time, so it creates no friction with it. That's the power of supercavitation.
Okay, quick question. Are you cat people or dog people?
Dog.
All right.
Dog breakfast? Everybody loves breakfast. I think it's the most popular dog on YouTube for UFO channels. Like, go grab breakfast. Right?
I would argue that my cat Maya is the cutest mammal on the planet, but we'll have to leave it there, and we'll take it on the other side of this break. Thanks so much for joining tonight, guys. And when we come back on the other side, we will unpack their documentary Countdown to Disclosure, and yeah, they do have a different take on what's actually happening here. And what is this agenda? What and who is behind it? This is Alan B. Smith for Paranormal Now on KGRA Radio, live Sundays, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Happy Father's Day to all of you fathers out there and children of fathers. And I will see you all on the flip side. Welcome back to Paranormal Now. This is Alan B. Smith, live on KGRDB.com. If you want to find out about this show and other shows, go to KGRADB.com. And we have some really exciting news coming down the pipeline. So stay tuned. Keep an eye on the Facebook page and YouTube channel, as well as Twitter, social media. We will be announcing some things in the coming weeks that I'm really excited about on the other side of the 4th of July. And yeah, okay, so I'm going to ask you the follow-up question, and we switched. Okay, so we've got Blake back. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Definitely Star Wars. But, those last three, yeah. I'm a big fan of Star Wars since the Mando's been out, obviously. But I got something to show you here real quick.
Sure. Mando definitely reignited a lot of fans'
so
passion
check
for
this
Star
guy
Wars.
out.
What? Oh my gosh! So for everyone listening,
well, George Lucas gave us this award for a Star Wars fan film we did about 10 years, 15 years ago.
Oh, that's right. Okay, he actually gave it to you personally.
Yeah, definitely. And these are more rare than an Academy Award. Let me tell you.
Okay, so for you listening, this is a gold statue. I don't know if it's real gold, but of C-3PO and R2-D2. That is amazingly cool. I love it for all the Star Wars geeks. And then, of course, I have my buddy. We have Baby Grogu with us.
Grogu.
On this end. Yep. So we're kindred spirits in that regard. And I'm still a Star Trek fan. I'm a huge Star Trek fan as well. But Star Wars definitely is that next level for me. And I think
it changed our life. That's what got us into filmmaking. Mm-hmm. Just thinking the bigger picture, music, John. It's just life changing. Obviously, I don't know what we'd be doing if it wasn't for Star Wars. And I almost feel like other people out there.
I almost feel like Star Wars inspires people to become creatives, whereas Star Trek inspires people to go into science and physics.
Well, I think Brent wanted to be like Luke Skywalker, and we grew up here in Hawaii. There's no gymnasium or gymnastics coaches in our little small town, but we got pretty good roundhouse backflips and full backflips in position. So yeah, we wanted to be like Luke Skywalker for sure.
So only if you can do the levitation like the UFOs, then we're good.
We're offering $1 million to anybody that can levitate or levitate anything.
Seriously, if someone can levitate, they've got a lot more than $1 million. And it seems like that's the case, though, right? That we've already got that tech anyway.
We got it. It's frustrating. We should have had this, approximately 70 years ago, in my opinion. We should be living in the Jetsons. Maybe some of this climate change, all this stuff would be non-existent if they just open up the Pandora's box of which they have in their possession. And, if they got to trickle it down, we'll trickle it down. Let's get these autonomous drones called the Tic Tac
build them on a mass scale. Nobody needs to pilot them. Let's just have them. Let's have AI take over, because that's what AI is coming into right now. Is how they're gonna. If it wasn't for AI, let's just say, in the advanced stages that it's leading up to, we wouldn't be able to utilize a Tic Tac. It's so advanced. You need something, a thing that thinks a lot faster than the human mind, because these things are moving at extraordinary speeds. A pilot wouldn't be able to do it. They would just crash this thing as soon as they started piloting it. Mm-hmm. So the AI is going to come in handy, and that's why there's this build up. Maybe this is a slow trickle down, but let's start manufacturing these things so we could get around the world a little quicker. And I think that would be exciting for the world if they just said that. The government should just admit, hey, we got something in our possession. Mm-hmm. Look, we're trying to reverse engineer it. We've come this far on it. It seems like it's something otherworldly or maybe an advanced civilization, but hey, we've been working on it for all this time. And look, we had to keep it a secret. Sorry, guys, this Roswell thing did happen, but we had to keep it a secret because it was a national security thing, and we did it for everybody's safety, and we did this responsibly. Mm-hmm. But now is the time. I think people would accept it a lot better instead of this threat scenario, constantly badgered over and over and over again, and mm-hmm. acting like we don't know what it is. First off, that's the number one thing. They act like they don't know what it is.
Well, I think the argument there, right, is to get more funding to fund these black budget projects. And is that where you stand, or do you think there's something else?
Well, obviously, they're going to want funding to act like they're defending themselves against this unknown. So it's going to cost a lot of money to build their own version of a Tic Tac and say, hey, look, we did it. We made something, but it costs trillions of dollars from taxpayers' money to do it. They're going to make a whole lot of money, and eventually will benefit from this. But like most citizens of the planet, they all benefit from technology after a war. It mm-hmm. all comes from war base, and this is where it trickles down. So unfortunately, it seems that we're going in this direction of this possible war against the unknown, or a stockpile of defense weapons to the unknown. And then we'll eventually get it trickling down. And I don't know, maybe it could be sooner than later. But, from what I've been hearing, these actors, in my opinion, that are saying the same things over and over again on the major media, and they're not talking to us mm-hmm. when we have better footage from the public than the military has. Or
we interviewed a Navy SEAL.
What's that, Brent?
We interviewed that Navy SEAL.
Yeah, just last night on Third Phase Moon, we put up an interview we did 7 years ago with a guy on board the USS Dubuque off the Pacific over there in Japan, and him and his crewmates noticed these things going over their ship. This is as important as a Nimitz story, but they're not talking to our sources for some odd reason. They only want to talk to their guys, and this is suspicious beyond all scale.
This is at youtube.com/thirdphasemoon. Now, again, yeah, that's back to my curiosity about, who they choose, why they choose to disseminate the specific information that they want to have disseminated, and because or at least that's what it feels like. Or is this really Lou Elizondo and others like Chris Mellon going, you know what, like it's time, someone's gotta get the crowbar out and open the door? Are they doing actually a righteous thing?
If you ask the question whether they're bringing up the UFO topic and bringing it to a bigger consciousness, mm-hmm. sure, I could agree with that. More people are aware of this phenomenon, and it's not such a crackpot kind of conversation anymore. I'll give them that. But the problem is when you talk to people nowadays, since it's all over the news, 60 Minutes, they're all coming up to us. It's like, did you hear about the UFOs? Did you hear about the UFOs going after the Navy pilots? And there's a threat. There's a threat, because that's all they know. That's all. People are mostly ignorant in this field, in the bigger scale of things, and they're just confused when I tell them, hey, look, that Tic Tac is possibly one of ours, built here in the United States in a private corporation. They go, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, exactly, because they don't understand the implications. They're thinking it's off-world. They're thinking these these things are scary. People are actually getting scared because of this threat. We put up UFO videos captured by the public, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, it's an invasion! It's an invasion!"
Mm-hmm.
And we can see the escalation of the fear being involved around this topic. And I'm not sure if that's anything that I would justify as, gracious, or what would you call them?
Righteous.
Righteous, yes.
Do you think that there is a threat then, or no?
If there is a threat, it's not from an extraterrestrial race from off-world. They would have done this a long time ago. There is a threat of a possibility of reverse engineered from alien technology, but it's being utilized by human minds. And that could be a threat if you use this technology in a militarized fashion. Absolutely. That's where the threat is. When they say we don't know what it is, and second of all, they say, "Oh, we got to rule out Russia and China pretty much now, and we definitely got to rule out the United States because we don't have technology that could do anything like this."
Mm-hmm.
No way. So it's got to be off-world. That again, in my opinion, is a false narrative. That they know exactly that we have this kind of power, and obviously we do. We've been working technology that's being hidden from the public because of national security. That's at least 40 years in advance. I'm thinking more like 200, 300, maybe 1,000 years. Imagine that kind of technology. It sounds like the Tic Tac to me.
So let's play this out. If they go with the narrative that this could be some advanced tech from another nation on Earth, and Congress goes, "Oh yeah, okay, great, we agree with that, fine. Let's go down that avenue of investigation." Where does that lead us? Because if indeed there are ETs flying around, is that just another way of them avoiding that topic, or does that take us there somehow?
Well, it might be doing a little bit of both, I hope. They're, again, opening up the minds that there's a possibility of extraterrestrial life out there that's visiting us, and that's great. That's an awesome thing. But then again, that's not doing anybody any good, because they've already, in my opinion, reverse engineered the technology, and in my opinion, it's liable that they're not sharing it with us after all these years. Mm-hmm. That's their responsibility. We're paying these guys to reverse engineer this technology. It's supposed to come back to us. And with everything going on right now, it'd be perfect timing with this climate thing that's going on, apparently, and all that other stuff. And we can see things are warming up. We had the biggest forest fire in our backyard in over 100 years here in Hawaii. So, a lot of things could be fixed with this tech. And
well, that's the thing. How does the warming of the atmosphere? How can anti-gravity tech have any effect on that sort of thing, or solve world hunger, or all these problems?
Pack a bunch of food on a Tic Tac, you can deliver it anywhere, food to anybody in less than an hour anywhere on the planet. Mm-hmm. No emissions, all kinds of things. It's transportation is what is. And delivering of products and goods is what creates this fossil fuel action. It's all about transportation and energy. If we have this energy that is basically free energy with no fossil fuels that could deliver goods to anywhere around the world, all this stuff would cure it all pretty much overnight.
Is it a pipe dream though? Like Stephen Greer, who's in your documentary, right? He's been talking about this for years, and I think it's great that he's, it's early 2000s. He's been talking about 0-point energy. That's great. I hope that we can get that, but are we relying too much on the fantasy of attaining that technology and not just accepting responsibility and changing how we do things in a more practical sense? Not more practical, but in a knowable way right now.
Well, yeah, Countdown to Disclosure, the secret technology behind the Space Force, our documentary where Dr. Stephen Greer is pretty much the main guy in the documentary. Mm-hmm. He has a lot of great talking points. And by the way, I think that thing's been rented over 100,000 times so far on Amazon Prime. It's like going crazy. Mm-hmm. And that's because it's kind of the alternate view of, well, it's not kind of, it is the alternate view of what they're saying out there. But mm-hmm. I don't think it's a fantasy, Alan. How far do you think advanced technology is the military, or what kind of assets do they have?
I'm not saying I'm not saying that they don't have it. What I'm saying is, how long
That
do
they'll
we
give it
wait?
to us?
Yes. Yep.
The fantasy that they'll actually share this technology with us, since they've been keeping
Exactly.
it secret all this
Yep.
time. Yeah, it is. And I don't think,
Meanwhile, Rome is burning.
yeah, absolutely. They're going to hold it close to the breast on this stuff. The fantasy of them giving up the technology, you're right. It might be just a fantasy after all, and it'll take a long time with this breadcrumb technology that trickle down.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're always going to the public. We got to fill in the public is where the answer is at, where we're going to get the information. We're going to get the smoking gun. Somebody that worked within these secret black budget programs could come forward with smuggled out video
Mm-hmm.
of the Tic Tac or the engineering behind it. Who knows? I think the public is going to be giving us the answers. And then once we get this smoking gun, we're going to be able to put it out. And then the government's going to have to rethink on how they're going to repurpose this in the public, since, hey, the smoking gun evidence has been released from the public. I know there's somebody out there that's got something, or there's people that have things in their archives who we've been speaking with lately that have 30 years of archives of all this evidence, and nobody's ever seen this stuff before.
And who is that?
Well, there's this fellow named David Adair.
Uh-huh.
David, you ever heard of him? He has over 37 patents in rocketry, worked with within the shuttle program, and all kinds of aspects of technology. And it goes down a rabbit hole with this guy. And it's very interesting. A lot of the people in the ufology world, they roll their eyes when we bring up David Adair. But the fact is, David Adair has all the credentials to back up his story, and there's no reason why he's at his time and age, he's not asking for anything. He's just frustrated knowing that
Mm-hmm.
he's maybe ending his his lifespan's coming a little shorter, and he's kind of sad that all this information he hasn't been seen by the public. And
Why do people critique him? Why is he critiqued or not believed? What is it?
It's interesting because this guy's been in every single field of technology, from AI to the shuttle program to rocketry. This his stories just go on, and maybe sometimes they're just like, wow, is this guy really straight up with me, because they're so crazy, this guy's stories. But then you got to look at his background, and to me, I think the guy's very genuine. But again, the guy's super smart, genius, and he believes that we're 1,000 years in advance with the technology, easily, of what we have.
Does he actually have this, or is he saying that he knows where it is, this additional evidence?
Well, he's got schematic. There's things I can't talk about too much on, because it's on YouTube and stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
he was involved with the shuttle program, and when they stopped the shuttle program after the Columbia disaster, everything went with it. The technology, the shuttle, not just the technology behind the space shuttle and getting it up to space, but all the science experiments that were involved that they were doing. Yeah. It all got scrapped. And apparently there were a lot of cures for diseases that went to the wayside because of this scrap, which could have changed the world. Mm-hmm. This is the kind of stuff Adair says. I'm not saying it, but I don't know why he would make this stuff up. He was involved.
Research, he's saying, done towards diseases that were scrapped because of patent issues, or what?
Well, apparently once they scrapped the shuttle program, all the medical experiments went with it. And it was all, here's the shuttle program, that's the budget. This is the budget, here's all the the medical science and all that stuff. Once it's out, it's all out. They just threw it all away.
Gotcha.
And now that they do experiments within the ISS and stuff, sure, but it's not the same. They just threw that stuff away. It's gone. And apparently they're like cures for diabetes and other things like that. They're just right there. And for some reason, I don't know, medical, there's a lot of money in the medical industry for diabetes. If they cured it, well, there goes a lot of money in the medical field. Who knows? But this is what Adair's saying. I don't know why Adair's saying this. Why would he make this stuff up?
Yep.
So we're going to be going to his place. I think he lives in North Carolina. And we've already done an initial interview with him that we're hoping we're going to get him in Countdown Disclosure, the sequel, which we're in the process of producing right now. But he says he's got a major archive nobody's seen for 30, 40 years, and he said that nobody's seen it. We're like, hey, look, we're going to open it up. We'll open it up.
I was going to say, get your hands on that, right?
Oh, yeah. And he wants to. And I applaud him for that. That's awesome. This is kind of the stuff that excites us at Third Phase Moon, just dealing with the real people involved with really high technology.
Okay, so you said the people, right? And I think the people who have their cameras and eyes to the sky. Okay, so those are the people that I think are going to help bring disclosure. But I also believe that these extraterrestrials, whatever they are, they only choose when they want to be seen. And then you have skeptics like Neil deGrasse Tyson, love them, but it's like, where are they? We haven't caught them. Like, oh, of course you haven't caught them on camera, right? Because they don't want to be seen, and they're a million years ahead of us, presumably.
And?
Right. And your channel already shows, and other channels too, that there is video out there already. It's not like we haven't caught it on video. But we were talking earlier before you came on the show, and we're talking about that. There were accusations about you guys and the quality of your video and all that kind of stuff. So what's your response to that? Why do people have a problem with some of your videos? And go ahead.
Well, I can say that, early on in YouTube is a Wild West. We're opening up the lines to the public, and some people are taking advantage of that. They're sending us things. And hey, back in the day, we're looking at it, well, like, wow, that looks pretty cool. Let's just put it up. And I think we got a little, we stumbled over that because I think we're putting up too many videos that were questionable over the first few years of Third Phase Moon. But look, we've been doing this for a decade. We've made a conscious effort over the past 7 years to be more of a critical thinker on some of the videos that we're putting up. And if you go back in our archive for, go back 5 years, watch every single video. I think we have like 2,300 uploads. We give the source to the people that shot it. Go talk to them. These people are genuine. And these videos that were put out 3 years ago, which, we don't put up anymore, people are caught in the past. They got to wake up on what's going on right now. Because, again, we're bringing out stuff that the world news picks up on days later.
Yeah.
And the evidence is there. It's in your face. It's crazy. And we have the archive and the factual people that got it. You could analyze the video all you want. We have a good eye to look for any deceitful, manipulated videos. We really try our darndest. We even tell people on Third Phase Moon, don't send us any of that. We don't want to see it. And people send it to us all the time.
Of course. Well, people are going to try. Graphic artists, 3D animators are going to try to see what they can get passable.
What they could get away with.
Yeah. I mean, and especially, I'll say this, in the early 2000s when YouTube, I think, launched in 2004 or something like that. There were those photos and videos that were coming out, and it was right at the dawning of 3D animation.
We're looking at that stuff and impressed, like,
wow, and we're impressed by it. Yeah.
And it really made you believe. So sure, there were those videos that were put up, but now with Third Phase Moon, see, at one point we were kind of the most hated UFO channel on the internet. We're basically the most hated channel, period, on YouTube.
Is that a moniker you're proud of?
Not really, but it's called. Okay. We called it the red lightsaber, because back in the day, YouTube would show your indicator between red and green, and our thing was just all red, 98% hate. There's a lot of hate.
Why was there hate?
Well, I don't know. Just because the videos are out, they're crazy. They're crazy videos. Okay. But now, over the past 5 years, it's like 98% like. It's a whole different trend. We've turned it around in a way that obviously everybody transitions through business or through their field or anything. You want to transition with the times, and there's a lot of people that are stuck in the past and they have not transitioned. And Third Phase Moon's transitioned. We've developed a panel. We've brought in panel members from across the United States to be involved with Third Phase Moon. We have a physicist that sits on the board of the Smithsonian. We have, Rich Giordano, who's been studying the field for 20 years, a skeptic in his own right, in a lot of sense, and a big critic of Third Phase Moon for years.
Rich will be joining us on the other side of the second and last break in a little bit. Will you be hanging with us?
Yeah, we'll stick around.
Okay, great. So as a reminder, when we come back on the other side in the last 30 minutes of the second hour, we'll open up the KGRA DB hotline. That number is 1-855-472-5483 or 85-KGRA Live. So you can call in to the hotline, ask your question. Bill Skywatcher, our producer, will be on standby to get you on the air with Blake, Brent, and Rich Giordano from GUFON. I always love that name, GUFON. It's very catchy. It's like MUFON, but goofy. So, okay, Blake, I have to ask you before we flip to the other side. In all the years looking into this, has it affected your sense of spirituality in what you believe in a higher consciousness or God or what have you?
Well, we speculate. We think, my brother get into deep conversations about where we're from. Are we alone? How is it possible that even life exists? Mm-hmm. And you just keep going down the rabbit hole, and we really don't have any answers, unfortunately. I think one of these, are we changed from 10 years ago to where our thought process is now? I think a little bit. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I really 100% believed or thought that this Roswell crash was even possible, that they are reversed. It almost sounds like it was fantasy. Like this is like a movie script, and this is maybe not what it seems. But the more and more I hear, and the more from people in these investigative roads that we go down, mm-hmm. I'm more of a believer that there was something that happened in 47. And what is it? I'm not sure, but I'm thinking more and more that this could be more of an advanced civilization that has been hiding on the planet for millions of years. And wouldn't it be great to meet up with our ancestors that have been here a long time ago and they've been hiding out?
That might explain the number of crashes that seem to have taken place within that period of time. This is Alan B. Smith for Paranormal Now on KGRA Radio. We'll come back on the other side with the Cousins brothers and Rich Giordano from GUFON to talk more about the documentary and their take on all of this phenomena. We will just continue to go down the rabbit hole as we do every week. And I think the cool thing about the rabbit hole is once you get in it, you get a little cozy, you kind of get comfortable in the rabbit hole for a while. And I'm happy there because, you know what, we're not going to get all of the answers. But tonight, we will try. Alan B. Smith for Paranormal Now. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Paranormal Now. This is Alan B. Smith live on KGRADB.com. Also find all the shows that stream live on KGRA on YouTube or on Facebook. And for those of you on Periscope, yeah, we're out there too. All right, so joining us now in this hour is Rich Giordano from GUFON. Rich, welcome. Oh, and we have a special guest.
Breakfast!
Sorry, Rich, you've been overshadowed.
That's okay, it's breakfast.
And so the dog called breakfast. Oh, see, you're competing with the cat now. See, now I can do this in real time. So that's Maya there.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I love dogs. I love cats. But
me too.
Being city folk, we tend to be cat people. It's definitely a lot easier.
Sure.
So Rich, welcome. It's nice to meet you for the first time.
Thanks, Alan. Yeah, appreciate you inviting me on.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself and GUFON.
Well, about myself, I'll just be brief. I got sucked into this just by accident, looking up one night, April 15th, 2004 to be exact. That was the day I got my dog. And yeah, saw me and my wife at the time saw some things. And then the next night went back out to walk the dog, saw something similar, the same spot in the sky. And it got me looking on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And I met somebody named Jeff Willis, and he's like, "Hey, have you ever tried finding them in the daytime?" And he told me this technique, which I don't use anymore, but it worked. And I started seeing things. And yeah, and then I created a website a long time ago and posted stuff on there. And I met all sorts of nice people in the field, Jaime Mosan, and, just name it, going down to these, in Arizona, we had the Phoenix thing. I can't remember what it is now, the International Congress or something like that. I used to live in Arizona, now in Florida, and met a bunch of people there, interviewed a lot of people with the Phoenix Lights event that happened in 97, Dr. Lynn Ketai and all those people. So,
Sure.
It's been a nice ride. And then I found, there was a lot of tomfoolery going on behind the scenes that I didn't approve of. And it was pretty bad. So I created the radio show and started talking about the things I learned and the people I met. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I see Blake. How you doing?
Hey,
And
Rich, doing?
Blake came around a couple of years after me. And I'm like, wait a second, who are these guys? What is this? Oh, no, no. And I would yell at their videos and I'd be all upset, but I always appreciated their skills with the camera. And I'm like, they're really nice. They do really good work. So, I mean, it can't be that bad. And a lot of the stuff they posted a lot of everything. And I was one of their biggest haters at the time. And now we're really good friends. We talk every day. So, you never know what you're going to learn in this field, who you're going to meet, what you're going to learn from those people that you didn't really approve of. And you understand the story and the plight and everything else that got them to where they are. So, you never know, man. This is a field that's ever changing. The narrative right now is not one I thought we would ever hear. And, me and Blake, Third Phase of Moon, and Brent, and everybody else on the panel, we kind of feel the same way, that something's not right. And we want to know why. So we're asking questions that weren't asked for the last year and a half. And it's stirred a lot of people up.
So in the documentary, you reference Plant 42.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In Lockheed Martin in Palmdale, California. Why is that the place that things are being manufactured from? And why is now Area 51 referred to as like a museum? What happened there, and what's the evidence to support that?
Well, while we're interviewing Dr. Michael Sala for the Countdown to Disclosure documentary, he brought forth the information in regards to Plant 42. And he said it came from a source that wanted to remain anonymous for security reasons. But it all correlates with Lockheed Martin and Skunk Works. And we were able to ascertain a document from Jim Goodall that showcases a statement from the owner of Lockheed Skunk Works, Ben Rich. Well, he passed away, but before he passed away, he told Jim Goodall literally that we have the technology to take ET home. And we do have this kind of technology that you see these UFOs perform. This is coming from the president of Lockheed Skunk Works, a good friend of Jim Goodall. Not only a letter, but a lot of dialogue back and forth. So when we talk about Plant 42 in Palmdale, this is all Skunk Works, Lockheed Incorporated. Voila, the manufacturing facility, in my opinion, for the Tic Tac. Can you get doors open to this? I don't think so. The reason why they keep it in a private corporation is because if it was a government project, we would be able to FOIA request their projects, their proceedings, and what they're doing. But since they keep it in a private corporation, we can't FOIA request a private corporation. It's that simple.
Well, can't you protect it through national security means if it's government anyway?
What do you mean?
Well, if a military, let's say the Navy, is experimenting with some kind of new tech or craft, right? For national security reasons, you can deny or redact something in a FOIA. So why the next level? Why the special access program?
Well, if maybe it's not the government experimenting with it. Maybe it is just a private corporation playing around up there, and they don't have to redact anything because we're not getting the information because it has nothing to do with the government. Because if it had something to do with the government and the president wanted to know, and I have a feeling our last president wanted to know what was going on, and even some former presidents. But the thing is, they can't access it. Just like if I built the Tic Tac and I had it in my garage, they wouldn't be able to access it if I didn't want them to. If I was playing around in the airspace and they can't prove that it was me with my Tic Tac, they have no right to. They can't come in my garage. With
well, do you remember the Hutchinson effect?
Yeah.
And whatever happened to that, right? Because that was like a viral video before viral videos. And then nothing came of it. I was like...
Well, didn't they send over some MIT guys over there for a few months? And they couldn't reproduce the Hutchinson effect while they were there, unfortunately.
Is that the truth?
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
I heard that
hung out with them for a few months.
Yeah, they said he's probably faking it somehow. I don't know. Yeah, they didn't buy what he was selling, but I believe that he's onto something.
Yeah.
From what
we haven't heard since.
Metals all split and frayed at the end. How he could create that in his room would be virtually impossible. With you need really high rates of heat to create that flash metal bang the way it frays at the end. But then I was hearing from other people that could have been a chemical solution that causes it to fracture that way, a little bit of a chemical reaction.
You make a comparison in the documentary. There's this probe that can fire ammunition in multiple directions, and it's combustion propelled. So, but that's not what we're seeing. That's not the kind of Tic Tac gimbal craft that we're seeing out there. So is there really any connection between that kind of technology, experimental technology, and the Tic Tac UFO that we're seeing?
I think you're referring to the leaked video from DARPA in regards to their weaponized shooting positions, top, bottom, left, right, all at the same time, and it could pivot.
Yeah, I mean, you could put that into a room and just destroy, right?
Everybody dies.
There's nowhere to go. Yeah.
No, it's crazy stuff. That's all weaponized. And we just wanted to bring up that video because I think it was, I don't know how that thing. I think that was from '97. I don't know, some pretty old VHS footage. And look, they were pretty advanced then, and this was all weaponized. Imagine the Tic Tac with this weaponized thing. We really can't defend against it. And they don't want to let anybody know that we have this technology because they don't want to freak out the other countries. They want to play like we don't know what it is.
Well, I mean, it's amazing how far DARPA has come with the robotics division. That is just astounding. I mean, we're not many years away from having, I think, robots in our homes, cooking, cleaning dishes. It's beyond impressive. And I wonder, something like that, like how do we know when Special Access Program Skunkworks or DARPA, how do we know when they show us something, what is the most advanced version of it that they have, or is it 20 years ago they've already created this high tech? Is there any way to kind of discern that, or are we just reaching for straws here?
Go for it, Rich.
I think you're reaching for straws. I don't know, man. I think these people are going to show off the best they got that's perfected, and want to, like all scientists and people who create things, they want to show off what they have. So I think, they're going to show what they have. And of course, there's things down the line, 4 or 5 years, I'm sure, ahead of. But I think they're keeping things close. But if you talk about the government, yeah, I think we've talked about this before, 100 to 300 years in the future with stuff they're working on.
Yeah.
That's how far ahead it is. But yeah.
Okay, we're going to bring on Micheal Roser from Darkhour Paranormal. Welcome, Michael.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Good to see you. Alan, nice to meet you. Blake, what's up, brother?
You too.
And Rich, how you doing, my friend?
How you doing?
Sure, thank you.
All right, so Rich, tell us quickly about yourself and what you do.
Michael.
Michael, I'm sorry. Yep, Michael.
Oh, very good. Nope, that's fine. My name is Micheal Roser. I am the founder and creator of Darkhour Paranormal on YouTube. I work alongside with Third Phase of Moon in many different endeavors, including Third Phase UFO Report, which I also work with, and Rich and GUFON in that respect as well. By and large, I'm working towards being a documentarian, a journalist in respect to this field, and I've been doing this for a very long time as experienced.
And are you a believer that extraterrestrials are visiting this planet Earth?
That's a very complex question, of course, when you break things down. I have to say, in a grounded way, that the possibility is overwhelming that we have been visited and are being visited by extraterrestrial species, whether this is in some sort of linear fashion or otherwise. To answer your question more directly, personally, I have a very strong suspicion that given the educational and deductive trail that we have in respect to anecdotal evidence, soft evidence, you put these things together and you start seeing some of the similarities, and you can actually have some corroboration between the stories, knowing that they don't link up in any physical fashion. People don't know each other, but they're having similar experiences. So in the end, I have to say, yes, I lean more towards the end of the spectrum, that they are here and we are having interactions.
Right. So in the documentary, Blake, you emphasize Trump a lot, President Trump, right? Why is that? Do you really think that he was supposed to be the disclosure president?
Well, we were when we were making this documentary, we were doing it in real time through an approximate period of 6 months. So, Trump was president at the time. In our follow-up, in our sequel, Biden's going to be pretty much the president featured in that film.
I see.
Trump was president, but he's had some things that were interesting that he stated. And one of the relevant points we brought up is when the president transfers power to another president, they have an Oval Office meeting. And the president coming in is kind of debriefed or briefed on, top secret, above top secret things. Yeah. And one of the amazing things that Trump said while sitting next to Obama was that he stated something to the effect that I'm amazed with these high flying assets. What did he mean by these high flying assets? In my opinion, I believe it's the Tic Tac. Another thing that he said that I thought was pretty interesting when he's interviewed by an ABC journalist, he asked him about the UFOs. And he says, well, I'm not really a believer in that, but I think what the pilots are experiencing is something we want them to see. This is, again, confirming what we're trying to say, is that there's something that they want the pilots to see, thus doing some kind of military engagement through an exercise, but they want to be seen. And how does he know that they want him to be? Well, he's in general, by some of his words, he puts out some things that means a lot to us. So,
but does that mean he actually knows something, or that he just is curious, or and is looking around and putting pieces together?
Maybe a little bit of both. Again, he doesn't have the power to go into a private corporation, but he might be privy to information in regards to the Roswell incident, because that was a military involvement. Yep. And then they brought that technology to a private corporation. So he might have privy information to certain parts of the story, but not other parts of the progress of the reverse engineering part, because that's in a private corporation. But he might be privy to the original 1947 incident.
And there's got to be a chance that, I know there could be threats, there could be lots of money made or withheld, but there's got to be people who've worked on these programs that whisper into other people's ears, right?
Well, it's a small community. It's a small community. Everybody knows each other, and being involved and being in the middle of it, it's exciting. And we're dealing with everybody in the field that's been studying this for a long time. Even Richard Dolan reached out to us. He wants to have this debate in regards to Lou Elizondo and what he believes in. I guess Dolan's backing up Lou on what he's got to say. So we're going to have this kind of Rumble in the Jungle pay-per-view thing that Dolan came up with July 3rd.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to that.
Is there really going to be a Rumble, though? Because I saw Dolan recently with Stephen Bassett on Peter Robbins' Meanwhile Here on Earth show, having a debate, and I thought it was pretty civilized.
Sure, it should be
Yeah.
civilized. I'm sure we'll have some disagreements. We might even agree on pretty much everything. We'll see on how it plays out. But
I think it's great. I think there needs to be more healthy debates out there.
absolutely, people need to come forward. We invited, Stephen Greer put a big wrench in the wheel a couple of weeks ago, making a major statement, calling out a lot of these players in the major media as actors, and they should stop what they're doing, cease and desist this threat factor. So we invited all the players. Nick Pope. We invited Daniel Sheehan. We invited Jeremy Corbell, and we invited Lou Elizondo. And we got all their responses straight up. We did our job, but did anybody show up to the table? Greer was ready, but none of these other guys were.
Interesting.
And you
Nick
think,
Pope,
like you said, wouldn't it be a relief if we could all just talk as grown-ups here? Well,
Yeah.
some of these actors didn't act like grown-ups.
They've
Jeremy
gotta get.
Corbell yelled at me for 5 minutes trying to invite him into the show. Nick Pope, he was cordial. He gave me a kind response saying I kindly declined, but he declined. And he also, we asked Luis Elizondo if he'd be wanted to come on the show via Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio. He asked Lou if he'd come and participate in this debate on Third Phase Moon's platform with Greer. And Lou's response was pretty explosive, saying that he doesn't negotiate with terrorists. Things like this. This is very bizarre language, and it
Who
shows.
doesn't negotiate with terrorists?
Yeah, that's what he said, and he said it in
crybabies.
front of camera. What's that, Rich?
Crybabies, doesn't deal with crybabies.
He doesn't deal with crybabies.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I mean, you guys haven't. No one's cried here tonight.
No, Stephen Greer cries in his movie.
Oh, yes. Okay, that's messed up. That's just wrong.
That's wrong.
We talked about this not too long ago, Blake, about Theory from Star Wars Theory on YouTube, right? He was watching the reaction of the last episode of The Mandalorian season 2, and he cried when Luke Skywalker and came onto the scene, and he was live streaming this reaction, and then someone from Lucasfilm and a bunch of people just piled on him and critiqued him and what was bullying essentially him for being a man and crying. I'm like, good Lord, this is 2021. If I'm a man, I want to cry online. That's my business, and to try and tear me down for that's just out of touch, totally out of touch.
Yeah, I cried when we saw Luke Skywalker. I've been waiting 35 years to see Luke Skywalker in action again with the green light.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
We all cried.
We teared
We all
up.
cried, man.
Yeah.
Real men cry.
Right.
Real men do cry. I mean, come on. That's
I know.
equated to name calling, which
it's-
these guys are doing anyway.
It's antiquated.
And
Yes,
for
exactly.
Lou
It's antiquated.
Elizondo-
Thanks. Sorry.
Yeah, for Lou Elizondo to say that I don't deal with bullies and crybabies, who's a bully here? Didn't he work at Guantanamo Bay? This guy's kind of in some shady, dark businesses working within the military dark shadow.
I mean, look, the argument, I guess, on his side, maybe it was just a cheap slight because he's already made up his mind. Maybe he's not, that kind of guy. He's just trying to say that with an old-fashioned mentality, like that's going to hurt his feelings. But how can it hurt his feelings if he's already crying on camera and he's comfortable with that anyway? So there's kind of a conundrum there.
They were advised not to come on Third Phase a minute and have a debate with Dr. Greer. And we're
Right,
going to
but
moderate it. But
and that goes back.
Dr. Greer, what he's going to have to say.
That goes back to the criticism about the channel, right? Because otherwise, I don't know what else would be the criticism for not.
Because Greer knows things that he doesn't want put out in public, I think.
But Greer is pretty open about what he thinks in the documentary, certainly, and his CE5 documentary as well.
Well, Dr. Greer is calling us pretty much on a daily basis now. We're working in close proximity with what's coming down with this countdown, and we're all going to find out what happens here on the 24th, I think. But, the conversation within the circles, like I said, I'm bringing it back. It's all like a small community, a small network. And it seems that everybody's jumped on the Lou Elizondo, Jeremy Corbell ship. And we're losing our positioning in our narrative than everybody else. No. What happened?
What's that, Michael?
I'm sorry, I was saying something. Maybe I hit the mute button and maybe it trickled over. I apologize, guys.
No, go ahead, Michael. What's your take?
No,
I think he was talking to some.
I was talking to my kids in the background, but I do have a take when it's my turn. I didn't mean to truncate anybody. Sorry.
Take it over, Mike.
Go ahead, Mike.
All right,
Mike.
Well, you look at somebody like Dr. Stephen Greer and his personality and the narrative that he's been talking about since the 90s has changed only ever so slightly. In fact, at its core, it's still very straight and spearheaded in respect to his CE5 and the old. Now, when Blake and Brent decided to present this roundtable to the community as a whole, my initial thought was, well, this is great. And I think that this could be reflected in some of the other guys here mentality as well. So this is great. We'll actually have an opportunity, an impromptu stage where we can act like adults and have this healthy debate. I was incredibly surprised, but at the same time, I sort of understood in respect to the narrative that is being pitched in the media, why some of these people declined. It was the attitudes that really threw us aback. And unfortunately, that sets them back as well. And I don't know if they realize that. You start saying some of these things, you're already a very formidable figure in some way, shape, or form, wherein you've garnered respect. People hear you talk like this, and especially about something that could be very progressive in respect to the field that you're supposed to be either protecting or covering. It's just very disheartening and disappointing to see that that's the case. Now, again, back to Stephen Greer, he is challenging. Why challenge? If it isn't for the reason, why would you run from that challenge if you really are the head of ufology in certain ways, or you are the face that carries through, the world at large, like naming all of these guys? If you already have that impact and your whole bent is to say, hey, we're trying to raise awareness about this, why run from an actual intellectual debate wherein you don't actually have anything to lose? It's clear. It speaks volumes.
Rich,
Go ahead. Sorry about that.
No, Rich, you have a follow-up on that?
No, I was just nodding along because it's true. It's like, what do you have to hide? I don't know. A lot of things came out about Lou that he may or may not have been with ATIP, and then Harry Reid backs up saying, he did have assignments from me at ATIP. Well, did he have assignments or was he heading it? And then now the emails have disappeared. Were there any emails? Did Lou really work there? So maybe Greer's got some inside track to, things that he doesn't want out in public. And if that's the case, that's why you don't go and talk to Greer.
Well, I think it's obvious that Lou was involved in ATIP. I mean, that's
involved, but was he the head of it?
Well, what's the head? It's like that's a term we're coming up with, right? So, is there a specific title that he's needed to have to essentially be running the analyzation of these videos and what did they really do, right? Because it's not like they're like MUFON ufologists where they're going out into the fields with their notebooks, right, and taking notes and measurements. I mean, I'm not entirely sure of all the scientific study that they did.
Well, didn't they bring some of those to TTSA, right? Didn't they bring 4 of their cases from ATIP over there and try to go through those channels to see what they could find?
Right, but why TTSA? Like way before this.
I know.
When this was first set up. I want to know, like, what was their methodology? What was their handbook on how to approach their protocol?
What surprises me is when they put forth these videos on TTSA, they were heavily edited and redacted on some of the speech we could hear from the pilots themselves. Years later, the Pentagon finally released, well, they didn't release the whole footage, unfortunately. They just released some of the audio, and the video was a little cleaner because we didn't have to see the watermark on there. But the pilots were obviously saying at one point, it's like, is that a drone? Is that a drone? And for some reason, TTSA cut that part out. They're cutting things out specifically to get as much out of these videos as they could, and they stretched them for years. They're still stretching them out. These videos prove nothing. We have way better footage of Tic Tacs, a cigar-shaped craft flanking commercial airlines than what we see by the military. and they're way more provocative, a lot more evidence to go with, a lot more clear, and still TTSA and the Pentagon, they're clipping these videos. We're not seeing the beginning. We're not seeing the end. Why is this?
In the film, Stephen Greer says he is advising the CIA director, or was advising the CIA director of Bill Clinton and quote, and others, that this free energy tech should come out first before ET contact. Who are these others, and why first?
Well, I spoke with Greer a couple nights ago for a couple hours. He refers to his constituents and people that are involved within the government that he talks to on a frequent basis. So, but he doesn't want to name names. So he considers these guys the others. And I think the reason why he wants it to come out first is because I think he's smart, because we
Lost you, Blake.
Audio.
Blake, we lost your audio. You're back.
You're back.
Good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I think it needs to come out first because that's what we want. That's what the humans deserve. We need this technology now. We should have had it like 50 to 100 years ago.
Sure.
And why not? I think maybe people be more acceptable to the alien existence if we could have technology that would at least keep up, that looks something extraterrestrial. Like, hey, look, we're pretty advanced too. Now look at these other beings that are pretty advanced as well. Maybe it wouldn't be such a trauma on the human consciousness.
Okay, right. So we don't have to level up so quickly that it's psychologically a strain on us.
I think that's where his thought process is on that.
Okay. All right. So interesting dialogue in the film. So Jim Goodall is talking to Bob Lazar on the phone, and Bob says to him, quote, "I think Trump just needed something to distract everybody, you know?" What is he referring to?
I don't know if Bob was right about that, because they're doing it now more in the Biden administration than they did it in the Trump administration. But what's interesting is that what Bob stated right before that, because this is when the New York Times dropped the headline that we have recovered off-world vehicles not made of this earth. So we wanted to get Bob Lazar's reaction immediately on Countdown to Disclosure. So we called up a buddy of ours named Doc Skinner, and I asked him, hey, look, you got anybody who could get us in contact with Bob Lazar? I need to get in touch with him right away. He says, well, I'm so happen to be standing next to a guy that's friends of him. His name is Jim Goodall. So I got Jim Goodall on the phone, and I said, hey, Jim, you think you could call Bob right now and get him on the phone? And a half hour later, we got the interview with Bob. But what Bob says, which is crazy, he says, I don't think they're going to let it stand the way it is. And there must be some kind of mistake. And I don't think they're going to let it stand the way it is.
Right,
and then
right.
the next day after that, the New York Times retracted their statement, just like what Bob says. With it, I don't think they're going to let it stand. This is the Roswell incident of 1947. Just nobody's talking about it.
But
People
they
should get mad about all this stuff.
I would argue that though, because they didn't let the standing stand, like because it just kept on moving forward anyway. So even with a little bit of retraction, I mean, this agenda that's
a big retraction. When they said recovered off-world vehicles out of this earth, I was going to expect to see some pictures of this off-world vehicle maybe in the next few days after that, since he admitted it. That's all we need right there. That was huge.
See, that's why I feel like this falls more in line with like a psyops or something, because I don't think that is the same as the Roswell. I think that this is part of it.
Maybe it was Roswell. Maybe they're just admitting that they recovered it and it's Roswell, and they're going to finally let us know.
Right. No, I don't mean that literally Roswell, but I mean Roswell, like where the next day it wasn't a flying saucer. I think they're actually teasing it out little by little and continuing the process of warming people up to the idea. No?
Yep. That's what they're doing. They threw it out there to see how everybody would react.
Okay, we have our first caller. I'm going to bring Brent on with us here as well. We have our first caller from Minnesota. Ron, you're on the air. Paranormal Now. Welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, how you doing, Alan?
Good, Ron. How are you?
Hey to you. And everyone else out there that might be father. Happy Father's Day. Anyway, I had a question for everybody, including you. How, say the last 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
how has your skepticism been? Has it changed? Have you become more of a believer? And this is for everybody.
Brent, you just joined. Do you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. It's been this kind of roller coaster of kind of feelings of how you feel. It kind of changes. You kind of believe a little stronger, and maybe the year before you're still a little bit more skeptical, but kind of leading up to what's happening in the world today and how it's kind of the hot topic of conversation, even in the major news and media, which we really haven't seen. It's always been kind of a joke, but now they're somewhat taking it seriously. I think there's something going on, and to the effect of, has our opinions changed? I think it's always kind of in an evolution. And right now, I'm kind of on a high level of maybe we're going to see something in the next couple of weeks that's really going to change the way we feel, and maybe even a paradigm shift throughout the world on how they're going to affect and see UFOs in the future, and what it might just change a public consciousness is what I believe.
You think in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think there's going to be some drops by the Pentagon. They could just drop a couple photos. They just have to admit to one thing. Bring up Area 51. Talk about anything being reverse engineered from an off-world vehicle. That's any kind of that verbiage would be that'd be a game changer.
Rich, what do you think?
About what Brent just said?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't think anything's going to happen, because no pictures, no secret technology is going to be shown to the public, nothing like that. I think we're just going to get some more. We may learn of a few things, things that really don't change whether we should believe or not. But I don't think we're going to see any technology or any secret craft or anything in the next few weeks. As a matter of fact, I don't think we'll ever. So that's where I stand.
And what about you, Michael? Are you more or more less skeptical than you were before?
Me?
Oh,
I
think he's cutting out.
Yeah, Mike, you're cutting out a little bit. Can you say
was
that
that for
again?
Rich?
Go for it, Michael.
That's you, Mike.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Was that question from okay, that was for me. All right. What Brent is saying is very interesting. I think that we have this window that we've been working with, wherein the government has disseminated certain bits of information. The cutoff point there is the 25th. That's it. That's the end of it. As much as I'd like to be optimistic and say we're going to get something more than what we've already got, we're very, very quickly counting down here. We're in a matter of single digits when it comes to the days left. It's enough for them to just give us things that they could say, all right, well, we'll step this. You guys don't.
Mike,
all the.
Michael, you're cutting out. Michael, you're cutting out.
Sort of.
Hold on, I'm gonna have to take Michael out for a sec. So, Michael, if you can hear me, you are cutting out. I would suggest turning off your video, because that's probably eating up your bandwidth, and then just using your audio. So we'll see if we can get Mike back on in a little bit. Ron, do you have another question for the panel? Nope. Okay. So we're going to move on from Ron. Thanks so much for calling in. And Rich, tell us a little bit about your background and why.
Hey.
Are you a Stranger Things fan?
I like just season 1, and I watched the other couple too. I didn't really appreciate what they did with it, but I liked the first season.
Okay, who else is a Stranger Things fan? Blake? Yeah, Brent? Okay. All right, we're gonna see if we can get Michael back on here. Michael.
Sorry.
No, that's all right.
Sorry.
Do you want to go ahead and
I don't know if I
thought?
cut out there. If you heard anything.
You did.
Okay. Yeah. So let me just say. Okay. No. Okay. All right.
I can't hear you, Michael.
I'm just. I'm going to reiterate what I said. Can't see here. All right. I'll be right back.
Turn your video off. Okay. Anyway, and this is the love I have for live radio. So let's go back to the documentary. So we have another comment, and this is actually an old comment that you bring up. Ben Rich from Skunkworks in a letter where he says, we have both ours and ETs. So this brings me back to the fact that there seemed to be a number of crashes that took place. You have the Aztec UFO crash. Some believe that was real, some don't. You have Roswell crash, and then there's another crash that Paul Blake Smith, who's also been on Paranormal Now, discusses as well, preceding the Roswell crash. Now, imagine you're a skeptic, right? And you're listening to this. You're thinking, how in goodness gracious could a super advanced technological extraterrestrial civilization crash 3 objects in a row within like a year and a half? How does that happen?
Well, you know, we watch Star Wars movies, right? Look at the Millennium Falcon. It's a hunk of junk. It keeps falling out of the sky. Han Solo is the best pilot. You know, things happen. Just because they have advanced technology doesn't mean a lightning strike could mess it up, you know, cause some disturbance in its, technology. It seems to me that, you know, it's very rare, obviously. There's UFO sightings on a daily basis across the planet. These aren't crashing out of the sky all the time, but hey, accidents happen, and why not? It doesn't seem out of the plausibility of even extraterrestrial advanced civilization having a craft that malfunctions.
But why not crash now? Why not crash yesterday and all these years that have gone by?
They may have, but like I said, it's pretty rare. But we're catching things on videos. We just heard recently that we put out a video recently in Jakarta, Indonesia. We kind of broke the news of something falling into the sea over there in Indonesia. Now the government's doing an official UFO investigation in regards to what crashed into the ocean over there off the coast of Jakarta. So we put out the news. It's happening all the time. Maybe there's an engagement at this moment. We're hearing the F-22 scramble jets over Oahu. Apparently, it's maybe because of Russian activity. But then across America, we showcase some videos of jets that seem to be in hot pursuit of something that we're not quite sure what's going on in the video. It's just bizarre. There's a lot of military activity we see right now here in Hawaii. I don't know. Maybe they're engaging them right now.
But there's supposedly over 100 UFO crashes around the world. A couple of them in Arizona, where I'm from. I mean, that's a lot of UFOs just to be crashing, you know. And then I read somewhere that, it's because we have this radar. It's either our what kind of radar? Not radar.
LiDAR.
Skylar.
LiDAR.
No. They take down the UFOs with this thing, you know, some sort of weapon. So I don't. What is it? Radar? Not radar. Whatever
Isn't it
creates
a Skylar weapon.
Nothing. No.
I'm not sure.
It creates radiation.
If anybody in chat knows the answer, please jump in on YouTube or Facebook.
It always fades off my mind. Why? I can't remember the word.
But go ahead. Go ahead with the point.
Well, I don't. Did we have radar in 47?
We did.
We did? So supposedly, if you're aiming this radar, it does something to the UFOs and makes them get a little crazy.
Well, it was a pretty hot radar too. So I mean, my understanding is that the waves, the radio waves that would come off of this, could be disturbing to flights of birds and this sort of thing. So
direct energy, yeah.
Right. It wasn't as fine, for lack of a scientific word, as the radar that we have now. It was in the early stages, and it was much more rough. And so yes, that is a theory that would knock them out. And so I guess you could say they were surprised by that. They didn't expect that.
It's kind of like the movie Independence Day when they figured out that they put the virus in and were able to enable their shields or disable their shields, and then that commander says, "Let's bring these sons of bitches down."
Okay, Gary, thank you so much in chat. Scalar radar. Thanks, Gary. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's what I say.
Maybe
That's all you did, yeah.
Maybe they're just working on Tic Tac technology, and it's not actually aliens crashing. It's just the Tic Tacs during their experimental stage.
Mm-hmm.
They could do that too as well.
Yeah, and they could have had some pilots in there. Maybe they had, maybe, I can't use the term, but little people, and maybe they were the only people that could fit inside these things at the time. That's why they thought they needed child-sized coffins back in Roswell.
Yes, and Bill, our producer, said some have mentioned some type of EMP, which nuclear testing detonation emits.
Actually, we made a movie, Hangar 52, and we kind of created the Roswell crash. And it was during their nuclear testing out there in the Nevada desert. And we had the UFO flying in front of a nuclear blast, and the MEP hits it and basically knocks it out of the sky, and thus the Roswell crash.
Right. Hey, Michael, you there?
I am here. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah. Perfectly clear. Thank you,
I'm so
Michael.
sorry. Thank you.
No. It's just a bandwidth issue. So Brent and Blake, aloha. I'm so envious that you're out in Hawaii, because I really want to get out there one day, and actually spend some time, with my wife and I to travel around. I'm sure the two of you have just spent plenty of time looking up at the skies. Is there something about Hawaii that is special as far as eyewitness sightings or these sort of metaphysical encounters?
Well, when you talk to the locals here and the people that live in Hawaii, you talk about UFOs. It's kind of like there's no big deal. Everybody's seen them. It's not like, oh, you're a freak because you saw a UFO. Everybody's seen UFO activity out here, which is kind of crazy. And I think because we have Pearl Harbor close by, they do a lot of military flight experiments right off the coast over here, because it's not populated on the Hamakua coast. We have these high cliff lines where these experimental craft could practice below the cliff lines and be out of sight from the public.
Yeah.
And we're always keeping our eyes out right over here on the coast. We're seeing things on a constant basis. What's kind of cool too is we got the clearest skies in the world, so everybody's looking up at the stars. So it's so clear. We don't have any light pollution and no fog or smog. It's just beautiful to look at. So people are always gazing at the stars, and the Hawaiians were experts as navigating the oceans by looking at the stars. So it's kind of embedded in the Hawaiian culture to look up and study the star patterns and how how it works with culture and spirits and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Hawaii's just open-minded.
The Polynesians were really advanced in star navigation. They were a seafaring people. So absolutely. And is there any myth out there that you've heard that would indicate an ancient alien presence as well?
Well, I got to say, what's interesting is that we discovered something while hiking through Gulch about 6 months ago of what looks to be an ancient Mayan pyramid, a step pyramid. And this is nothing like any kind of Hawaiian construction that we've ever seen. And we're trying to get to the bottom of it. It's on our Third Phase of Moon channel. If you look up, what did we just discover a pyramid in Hawaii? And it's incredible. And there's rumors that there was some kind of ancient race that once existed before the Hawaiians were here. And they believe in different kinds of gods as well, like Lono, Pele, and the shark god. They believe in a lot of gods, but I think there's a connection between the Hawaiian people and the stars. That's for sure. They even have ancient star maps. How do they figure this out with their primitive technology back in the day? It's amazing to me. And building this pyramid.
Right.
Yeah, we got a call from a friend of ours named Brian, and this was just yesterday, and he said there was multiple sightings of a UFO that looked like a cylindrical cigar-shaped craft over there on the west side of the island called Kauai High. And he says there's dozens of people that just witnessed this, and we got our boy Brian, and he's going to be interviewing some of the people that saw this. I'm not sure if they got video of it, but again, going back to that pyramid, this three-step pyramid that pretty much scales about 50 feet, there's about 600 to 1,000-pound stones that are stacked along each other, and you can see that they're cut. But how old this thing is. You don't really see any tool marks. It's kind of strange, and there's no mortar in there. It's just all stacked by rocks, and they did a really fine job of it, and including the steps that's kind of laid into the riverbed. It's mind-boggling on how they could have created this. And we tried to go to the university, and we shared some of these pictures, and they're saying this and that, but then we're saying, look at these steps, and they're actually saying this is very interesting, but to no effect, these guys have not come over to actually take a close-up and a good look at it, and we could give them exact directions. We could take them right there to the scene of the crime. And I don't know why they're not taking our offer up on this.
It always seems to take a long time for academia to come around. I mean, look at the work Graham Hancock has been doing for so long. And, only in the last 5-7 years, people are really starting to revise human history and the length of time we've been around and the multitude of different hominid species. I mean, it's phenomenal. All right, so we have a second caller, Mark from Colorado. You're on Paranormal Now. Welcome, Mark.
Are we online?
Yes, you are. Ask away.
Hey, how you guys doing?
I'm good, Mark. If you have the radio on in the background, can you turn that down?
Okay, I'll turn it down a little bit, yeah.
Okay, thanks so much. All right, so
my name's Mark. I'm a software engineer for 40 years from Silicon Valley, and have you guys seen the Super Soldiers witness testimony?
There are many out there. There are many to speak of. A handful of names that are involved in this Super Soldier program. What might you be referring to? Something that's more regressive, or something that's happening at the moment?
Well, I just say that the asymmetric warfare that we're witnessing right now, with cyber war, bio war, weather war, you can go on and on. It shows that we're under a system of control, and we have to realize that the people that write the AI algorithm for that control, they actually, those people live for like 3,500 years. So everything we're doing here is just kind of relative to their time scales and their time spans.
You're saying these people live for 3,500 years?
Correct.
Okay. And who are they?
If you watch the, Super Soldiers and some of the other sources of information, the genetic engineering alone with the CRISPR technology advancements is one I could talk about from a scientific standpoint, where you can just see that, all plants, all animals, all insects, all of them have the same DNA. And that code is just like computer code. And from Corey Good's perspective, it's a genetic farming. That's what happens out there.
Yeah. So I hear you about CRISPR. It is a technology that people can literally use in their garage if they have enough money to buy some of that equipment. So
you could do it in a desktop, yeah.
Right. So you're saying that someone has created super soldiers using CRISPR or something similar to CRISPR?
No, I'm not saying that the super soldiers are genetically modified, but they do have genetic equipment like the med bed.
Okay.
And when you lay down in this device that does harmonic plasma, your blood plasma, it just basically lines up your blood. Your whole system gets regenerated.
Mark, would this have anything to do with psychoacoustics at all?
I think there might be some acoustics, but no.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. Mark, do you think there's an extraterrestrial connection to these super soldiers and to genetic manipulation?
Yeah, no. So it's from my perspective of researching this last 4 years, it's a market of genetic information is a market, and then you have technology is a market, and those are the two economies that look up there. It looks like the quantum financial system is coming around, especially if you follow the political side of stuff. So I think we're in for good news Age of Aquarius is on its way, and we get to reshape the Earth in the fashion of all the perfection that America has done in the last 150 years, just to have it more common-based and spread out to a fairer way.
All right. Mark, thank you so much for your input. I really appreciate it. And the question, we're going to try to squeeze in one more caller. We have Alex from North Carolina on hold. Alex, welcome to Paranormal Now.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good. We have a few minutes. Do you want to squeeze your question in here?
First, I just want to say thank you to Blake and Brent. I know they've been doing this work for a really long time. And, so has Stephen Greer, so has all of these other guys, GUFON Radio. Everybody's been in it for a while. And we definitely appreciate you guys being the forefront of this. As far as Lou Elizondo's comments towards Stephen Greer, they were a low blow. I think there's more respect that should go towards Stephen Greer in that direction. Mm-hmm. But this is way beyond he said, she said type of deal. This is way beyond personalities, So we all got to kind of work together, kind of got to move the narrative forward and make sure that the people, us and all of us, get the information that we've been looking for and needing for so long. So I guess really my question is, what do you guys think the next angle is? Are they going to say crash retrievals? Is that the next angle that's going to be played to get to the direction that we're trying to get to? Or do you think it's the hybridization or, all the many other possibilities that there are? What do you guys think is the next? Will it be other videos released by Jeremy Corbell? Just
the next phase.
Backing those videos.
I'll go first.
Okay,
I'll
thanks
answer that.
So we have Rich. You're going to have to take us out. So this is all you. Thanks so much,
man.
Alex, for the call. Yep.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Thanks, Alan. Well, I believe the next phase might be better videos. I think I heard a rumor that Corbell has just the tip of the iceberg from what he's about to show us. And for me, I'm not impressed. So I'm not really waiting for him. But I think we're going to get into the metals that they have. I don't know. So for some reason, I heard that too, that we're going to be talking about some of the evidence that they apparently collected and get some real good data on that. I think that might be the next thing that they're going to go to, because what would be next other than saying, we have aliens here, here's Bobo, and then bring them on TV. That's not going to happen anytime soon. So what can they do? They got to keep the threat narrative alive. And if they somehow show us that these metals they have, if they have them, that are not from this world, then they might be proving to us with their narrative that they have off-world metals and, aliens do exist, and maybe that's what we're seeing on video. All
right. I just learned tonight that there's an alien named Bobo. So that's something.
That's awful. I couldn't.
All right. Thanks so much, everyone. So Blake and Brent, tell people where they can get the documentary.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to say real quick that, I think that was Alex that called in and asked the question, what's next? It's interesting. We found out there was a historical UFO community in the 50s, and they said the third phase would be the time when the UFOs would come out and reveal themselves. So I don't know, maybe calling ourselves third phase moon was hindsight. But everybody can go watch Countdown to Disclosure, the secret technology behind the Space Force. It's available on Amazon, iTunes, any streaming platform. Just type in Countdown to Disclosure. It's going to pop up. There's a lot of insight there. It's another different angle of what you're hearing in the major media, and I think it's an important message. And we're fiercely working on the sequel as we speak. We don't know the name of Countdown to Disclosure the sequel is, but we should be wrapping it up in a couple weeks. It's exciting. We got some really good insight and explosive. We're going after the major media, and we're exposing their major flaws and how they're presenting this narrative. And let me tell you, they're making major mistakes.
All right, Blake and Brent, thank you so much for coming on tonight.
High fives.
High fives. All right, nice. And Michael, real quick, website.
You guys can find me on Darkhour Paranormal at on YouTube, and also if you have any questions, you can email me at darkhourparanormallive@gmail.com.
All right, great. And Rich?
GUFON is on YouTube 6 nights a week, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific.
All right, that's it for Paranormal Now. Thank you for this panel tonight. Thank you for the cousins, brothers. I've really enjoyed tonight's conversation. And if you want to find out more about Paranormal Now, please follow me on Facebook at Paranormal Now Radio, or you can go to kgradb.com/paranormal now. And coming up in just a bit is the Tracy Austin Show. Special thanks to my producer, Bill Skywatcher, to Eric Brager and Brace Hobbs of KGRA Radio. And until next time, everyone, live in the mystery.